parents? When did you realize you'd raised a psychopath? Cade came home from school smiling from cheek to cheek. Mom, I think Catherine Novak finally likes me back, he said, bouncing on his seat. Tell me about it, I said. He explained how he'd been teasing her about her outfits in class and called her a beluga for eating lunch. He said she always reacted strongly, which meant she must like him. Today, he'd hidden her backpack as a prank and she'd chased him down the hallway crying to get it back. It made me really uncomfortable. But Cade didn't have many friends and had never shown interest in girls before. I thought he just didn't understand how to properly express his feelings. Honey, I sat him down. You should try being a bit nicer. Girls like boys who are sweet to them. Cade rolled his eyes and said Catherine wasn't like other girls. She liked when he was tough and funny. He said she pretended to be upset, but really she enjoyed the attention. When I suggested he try complimenting her instead, he laughed and said I didn't understand his generation. Over the next few weeks, Cade came home with more stories about Catherine. He'd knocked her books off her desk accidentally and helped pick them up. He'd started calling her Messy Jessie because she spilled yogurt on herself once. He thought it was hilarious when she got red-faced and told him to stop. I tried talking to him, but he insisted this was just how kids flirted now. He said Catherine was playing hard to get, and he just needed to be persistent. One day, Cade came home upset because Catherine had partnered with someone else for a project. He'd assumed they'd worked together since he'd been giving her so much attention. When she chose another student, he'd made a joke about her being too stupid to recognize a good partner. She'd apparently gotten very quiet after that. Cade, that wasn't a joke, I said firmly. That was mean. You need to apologize. He argued that I didn't understand their dynamic. He said Catherine knew he was kidding, and she probably partnered with someone else to make him jealous. I insisted he needed to be kinder, but he stormed off to his room saying I was ruining his chances with her. The next week, Cade's behavior escalated. He started leaving notes in Catherine's locker with funny comments about her appearance. He'd wait by her car after school to tease her about her driving. He even started a group chat where he'd share embarrassing photos of her he'd taken without her knowledge. When I found out about the photos, I was horrified. I made him delete everything and grounded him from his phone. But he said all the guys shared photos of girls they liked, and Catherine would think he didn't care about her if he stopped. I decided to call the school counselor for advice. Mrs. Nielsen listened to my concerns and said she'd look into the situation. 2 days later, I got a call asking me to come in for a meeting. When I arrived, the principal and counselor were there with a thick folder of complaints about Cade. Multiple teachers had reported Cade harassing Catherine. She'd asked to change classes to get away from him. Her grades were dropping, and she'd started eating lunch in the library to avoid him. What Cade called flirting, everyone else recognized as bullying. I sat there feeling sick. They suspended Cade for 3 days and required him to attend counseling. On the drive home, he sulked in the passenger seat, insisting everyone was overreacting. He said Catherine was just dramatic and trying to get attention. He couldn't understand why he was in trouble for showing interest in a girl. The suspension didn't change Cade's attitude. He blamed Catherine and said she'd ruined his reputation. He started telling people she was crazy and had made up lies about him. Even after counseling sessions, he maintained that he'd done nothing wrong and everyone else was too sensitive. One evening, 2 months later, our doorbell rang during dinner. I opened the door to find a man I didn't recognize standing on our porch. He was tall and broad-shouldered, wearing a work uniform with Novak embroidered on the pocket. My stomach dropped as I realized this was Catherine's father. Is your son Cade home? He asked with controlled anger in his voice. I nodded and called Cade to the door. He came slouching over until he saw Mr. Novak. Then his face went pale and he took a step backward. Mr. Novak's voice shook as he spoke. Your son has been tormenting my daughter for months. She cries every night. She's scared to go to school. She's failing classes because of him. Cade started to protest, but Mr. Novak cut him off. He pulled out his phone and showed us screenshots of messages Cade had sent Catherine on fake social media accounts after being blocked on his real ones. Cruel comments about her appearance, threats to spread rumors, manipulated photos, things I had no idea were happening. I felt my knees go weak as I looked at my son. This went far beyond awkward teenage flirting. This was systematic harassment. Cade tried to grab my arm saying Mr. Novak was lying, but I pulled away from him. The evidence was right there on the phone screen. I've gone to the police, Mr. Novak said. They said to document everything and file a restraining order, but I wanted to look him in the eye first. He stepped closer to Cade, who shrank back against the wall. Mr. Novak's hands were clenched into fists at his sides. For a moment, I thought he might actually hit my son. Cade must have thought so too because he started apologizing rapidly, saying he didn't mean it and he was just joking around. Joking? Mr. Novak's voice was deadly quiet. My daughter tried to hurt herself because of your jokes. Full story on channel linked below.